Hi there, this is a revision lesson on functions. So we've done quite a few lessons now on the functions, and this is meant to recap it all. Obviously this is traditionally been a year 13 topic at Cowley, so we're doing it early, and the idea is to give you this extra lesson just to try to bring it all together. So I'm going to do this predominantly using some exam questions from recent exams, from predominantly the new type of exams. So let's get start on this. We've got a couple of functions here, and it says f of x equals x cubed and g of x is x squared plus 2, and it wants me to find fg of x. So you might remember that we write this as like that. That's the best way of understanding this, which basically means I put g into the f. What is g? It's x squared plus 2. And f tells me to, oh, it says x cubed, so I've got a cubic. So whatever I put in, which is this x squared plus 2, it's cubed. There you go. Now, gf is not the same thing. Basically, I put f into g. It's always this backward way of thinking about it. So what is f? F is x cubed, so I've got to put x cubed into g. And g says whatever you put in, square it, and then add 2. So I've got to do x cubed squared, add 2. Which I can easily do that one. The other one's a bit more complicated, so that's why I didn't expand it, but that one's easier. This one's only worth 1 mark, so that's why I didn't bother with that. Hence find the values for which fg minus gf is 24. I'll have to go on to the next slide. So it says fg minus gf equals 24. If we just go back a step, that's x squared plus 2 all cubed. So x squared plus 2 all cubed minus gf, which was x to the 6 plus 2. Or better put that in the bracket to make sure I remind myself to take away. And now what I've got to do is I've got to expand this. So if I just try to expand this, now this is a binomial expansion. The coefficients for the third power is 1331. So I'm just going to do it here. It's 1 times the first one cubed. And you don't get any 2's at all, plus 3 times x squared times by the 2 to the 1, plus 3 times, now it's just x squared to the 1 times by 2 squared, plus 1 times the 2 cubed, and you'll notice the x squareds disappeared totally. All of that is now still minus x to the 6 plus 2 equal to 24. I reckon I can tidy this up quite easily. X squared cubed is x to the 6. 3 2's are 6, so that's 6x to the 4. Plus 2 squared is 4, plus 12x squared. Plus an 8. Minus an x to the 6. Don't forget it's minus the 2. Minus the 2. And I'm going to move the 24 over on the same time. Minus 24 equals 0. And the great thing about that is that goes with that. So I've got 6x to the 4 plus 12x squared, and I reckon that is minus 18 equals 0. And I can divide everything by 6, which does help a lot. If I divide by 6, I get x to the 4 plus 2x squared minus 3. Now, most of you will probably think of this as a disguised quadratic, and you'll put it into a calculator. I'm going to factorize because I think it's quite an easy one. It's x squared plus the 3, x squared minus 1. If I factorize it, and notice x squared is the middle term. You could do that on your calculator. If you do it on your calculator, you'll get x squared equal to negative 3, or x squared equals to 1. It's a disguised quadratic. Now you can't get square numbers which are negative, so no solutions for this one. This one you do, x equals plus or minus 1. And I think there are 2 solutions. So I quite like that. Second question then, it's another recent exam question. I've got this, f of x equals this. The first thing I'm going to do, because it does tell you to me, given that this thing exists, when I say this thing, the inverse function exists, state the least possible value of k. I think we saw some of these. So I'm going to draw this. Now usually, I say usually because this isn't a normal one, this is a restricted domain of x is bigger than or equal to some number, which of course it wants me to find. If I just plot what it normally looks like, now because it says x minus 3 all squared, that normally would be a like that kind of scenario. But it says minus 17, so it's translated 17 down. So it's going to look like something like that, where this value here is 3. So that's 3 comma minus 17. Now, this won't have an inverse. Do you remember the horizontal line test that we talked about? If it hits in more than one place, and this does. So basically, because it doubles back on itself, it's not got an inverse. Now, I restrict the domain. Here it says bigger than or equal to some number. And this is the magic number, the 3. So that if I get rid of all of that and only look on that side, when k equals 3, that's my biggest possible domain of this function. So that's what the answer is to A. Part B, it says evaluate f of 5. So basically I just put 5 into the function. So if I put 5 into this function, I get 5 minus 3 all squared minus 17. What's that? That's 2 squared, which is 4 minus 17 is minus 13. And what I've got to do, what I've got to do is put this minus 13 back into this. Because really at the moment all I've done is I've just done that first part. That's really what I should have written. And I've got to do f of minus 13. But that's the point, you see, minus 13 is over there somewhere. I can't put f of minus 13 into it. So this is what we'd call undefined. We're not allowed to put that into it, so therefore, because I've got double f of 5 is fine, but f of 5 I can't do, which is what they want me to do. C, it says solve the equation f of x equals x. So what was f again? Right, let's do that. So x minus 3 all squared minus 17, that's my f of x bit, and I've got to set that equal to x. So the only way I think I can do this is to multiply out the brackets. Should be able to do this on top of your head now. Minus the 17 equals x. Tidy up a bit, I'm going to get x squared. I reckon I'm going to get minus 7x, sorry, minus 8. Alright, again, this you could do this on your calculator, no problem if you do. I'm just going to quickly do it. I reckon it's x plus 1, x minus 8, which gives me solutions of x equals minus 1. Have I done that right? Yes, I have. X equals minus 1, or x equals 8. And of course, remember, I've said all along that this is only defined when x is greater or equal to 3. So this one actually can't happen, and this is my only solution. And D says, explain why your solution is also the solution to the equation f of x equals f inverse. Oh, right, and this is just a consequence. We talked about this. We talked about the fact that if this is my function, and if I drew the inverse, you'll remember it is a reflection of the line y equals x. So this goes up like this. This is line y equals x. And this is my reflection. And you should remember that all three intersect on the line y equals x. So that's basically the answer for part of D. New question. The function is defined for all real values of x. So this is my function, c plus 8x minus x squared, where c is a constant. Given that the range of f is f of x is less than or equal to 19, find the value of c. Okay, well, I suppose the first thing I want to do is I want to know what this graph looks like. And I can do that by saying it's an x squared graph. Okay. I could even complete the square, but you can just use your knowledge of the fact that because it says plus 8x. Well, I'll complete the square. It might be easier. So I've got a minus x squared, so it's probably easier to take x squared minus 8x out and treat it like a constant plus a c. And then I say to myself, well, that's x minus 4 all squared minus the square of 4 is 16 plus c, and therefore my graph is actually minus x minus 4 all squared plus 16 minus and minus, plus a c. And what that tells me is it essentially looks like this. At 4, because it's minus 4 in the bracket, and I'm going to get a upside down U shape where this is my maximum value. And the great thing is in the question they tell me what that maximum value is. They tell me it's 19. So that is the value of 19 there. Now, why is that useful? Because effectively I now know, you see, a normal graph, if it would look like that, would be the x minus 4, or the minus the x minus 4 squared. But it's gone up 19. So the 16 plus c must equal 19, c must equal 3. Okay. And then part 2. It says, given instead that f of 2 equals 8. Alright then, so we've seen this before. We do f of 2, which means I put 2 into this. So I get c plus 8 2's are 16 minus 4, and that's still got to be f'd again. So I now have f of c plus 12, which basically means I put c plus 12 back into this. Okay, let's do it. So f of c plus 12 equals, it tells me c plus 8 lots of c plus 12 minus c plus 12 squared. And it tells me in the question that equals 8. It's getting a bit complicated, but it's not too bad. It's a c plus 8c plus 96 minus, let's multiply this out, c squared plus, notice I've put the square bracket around, so I'm not worried about signs just yet, plus 144 equals 8. Let's tidy this up. Everything is going over to the right hand side, simply because then I've got everything on the right over the positive number c squared. So I've got c squared over there. I've got 8c minus 24c. That sounds like minus 16c. So when I move it over, oh, I've got plus another one here. Minus, so that's 9c minus 20. I reckon that's 15c. And when I move it over, I think I get plus 15c. Is that right? 9 minus 24 is minus 15c, yes. And then I've got 96 minus 144, which sounds to me like minus 48. And if I move minus 48 over, I've already got 8 over there, I think I get minus 40 equals 0. So, oh right, I've just realised actually I've made a mistake. So when this moves over, it's presently a minus 48. So when it moves over, it becomes a plus 48. And that makes that plus 56. Oh, good job I spotted that, or else I'll never got the right answer. So anyway, I've got this equation, c squared, so 7 eighths are 56. So I get c plus 7, c plus 8. And that means, therefore, that c equals minus 7, or c equals minus 8. Okay, fair enough. Next question, again a fairly recent question, I haven't got long, so I'm going to rattle through this quickly. Range of f. Alright, now this is a graph that normally looks like this. It normally does this, but because it says x is greater than or equal to 0, my actual graph is only that. Okay, so I really, in order to find the range of f, I've got to work out where that is. And I get that by putting 0 into this, so I get 8 divided by 0 plus 2 is 2 is 4. So y is less than or equal to 4. Oh, not quite, and between 0 and 4. So that's really what it says. And I'm really running out of time, so I'm not going to try to do it all. I want you to have a look at the mixed practice for me. The mixed practice is just meant to be a bunch of questions which theoretically you can do all of them, and we'll see whether or not you can. Any problems, just email me, and hopefully you can do these and get on, and make sure you do the homework for me, please, functions 2 and functions 3. Thank you very much.